So this is ARK Innovation. So ARKK. Okay. So this is something that I have invested in. I have about 10% of my portfolio in it. And I am potentially looking to dollar cost average in. But I'm going to get you guys to tell me yes or no, whether this is a good place to get in or not. You know, Cassie, you're allowed to have lunch over the webinar. Not yet. Don't like the big red bar. No, not if it still drops. But we never know if it's going to still drop. We never know if it's going to still drop. Yeah, but it's an ETF. So anyone up here, look, it's an ETF. So this is an ETF. So this is you're buying this like the underlying asset. We're not looking at this as we're not looking at this to sort of jump in on and trade with leverage. Yeah, forget about the pre-market for a minute, Carol. We're just going on what we see, because we can see the pre-market here is 107.95 at the minute. So just forget about the pre-market for the second. So does this here look like a good setup? So for all intents and purposes, this looks like a decent enough level. So it's bounced once there from underneath. We got close there twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, and this is the 7th time. Okay, so this is the 7th time. So Ricky, this is an ETF. Okay, so we are at a nice level. We're at a nice area where theoretically this is where we would be looking to jump in, correct? Yeah, Cassie, I'm slightly down on this as well. So this is something that we would theoretically be looking to jump in on. Now, what's going on in the market over the last 2 days? What's going on in the market over the last 2 days? Can anyone tell me? Big sell-off. Why has there been a bit of a sell-off? No idea. Okay, anyone has a well done, Shane Powell. Okay, for anyone who doesn't know, Biden has given Powell the backing to continue in his job as head of the Federal Reserve, whereas the governor of the Federal Reserve was the guy who was expected to take over. So with Biden going behind Powell, that's a big statement there. So the market yesterday up to about, what was it, about 4 or 5 o'clock was up massively, and then it actually turned. So the day actually turned quite negative. So let's have a quick look at the Nasdaq. So this is all linked, and there's a reason why I'm going through the likes of this. So anyone here, look, I actually posted this stock list. So this is something I did over the last 2 or 3 days. I did an alternative stock list here for you guys. The watch list is in Discord. I popped it into the notification area in the Discord area. If you're using TradingView, just download it. So that is something that I've done there. I've even dated it, so that was actually done yesterday. So if we have a look at the Nasdaq, over the last 2 days, we've had a little bit of a sell-off, haven't we? We've had a little bit of a sell-off. Now, the question is this sell-off going to continue? Or is this a good area to jump in? Are we looking to buy this? So that's the next question. So what I did with the likes of this is I had a quick look, literally put it into Google, ARKK, sector breakdown. Look, it's come up straight away, sector breakdown. Okay, so click here into Yahoo Finance. And then by quickly just going down here, I can see that we have had 30% technology, 25% communications, 29% healthcare, and 11%. Okay. Now, if I go back here, so we'll look at the Nasdaq. We had this big drop in the Nasdaq. S&P, we've had this big drop. And in the Dow, we've also had it. So it's banking has dropped, healthcare has dropped, everything is only dropped. The only one that hasn't really dropped is banking itself. Okay, so banking itself is the only thing that hasn't dropped. So with that in mind, do we think that the likes of ARK is going to drop a little bit more? So if I type in now ARK, so ARK Innovation. So with that in mind, do we think ARK is going to drop a little bit more? With that in mind, yes. Yes, I expect it to drop a little bit more. Now, the problem is I have no idea how much more it's going to drop. And that's the downside. So I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have an idea. But again, there would be an area for me to have a look at again. So bounce and bounce. So I will potentially be putting an order in at 100, here. So that if this drops as far as here, I'll be triggered into the market. So there's the investments I have in it. I'm 17% down at the moment. There's my assets in it there now. And if it drops a little bit more, I'll be looking to buy up again. So on average, up to this year, ARK has done on average 45% a year. Now this year, they've actually, if they finish like they are now, they're going to be down a fraction this year. So if we look at the beginning of 2021, which was here. So which is here, down to here, means that they're down 14%. So the question is that are they going to recover, or has this just been a bad year for them? If you think they're going to recover, then me personally going to dollar cost average in. If I don't think they're going to recover, then it's worth pulling the plug on them. So that's a question you have to need yourself. If it comes back down to there, that'll be 21% down on the year. If I go from the actual high, so if we go from the actual high down to here is a 32% drop. Down to here is a 37% drop. Go away. Okay, so that's something yours. So that's something that I'm looking at the minute. But something that is sort of relevant right now, this second, is this. Can everyone see my chart on the Dow? Yep. Okay, good. Because I know when I pop around on different windows, sometimes it doesn't share the screen. So if we look at this, we have, if I get my arrows and stuff out, got my arrows. We have had a bounce there. We had a bounce there. and we're now having a bounce right there. Now we talked about this being a potential trade here. So on the 4 hour, so we talked about this being a potential trade in the 4 hour. Anyone that took that, it went up to a 1-to-1 and then come back down, and you'd be just on the verge of being stopped out or stopped out, depending on how the actual trade went. Okay. So I'm going to clear all those drawings first, and we're going to have a quick look at the other markets before we go in there. Before we go into a little more detail on this one, so we have pop this. We have the Nasdaq. So Nasdaq has had a little drop. Okay, it's had a little drop here as well. Let's go and delete this. Anyone that took this trade went up to a 2 3/4. Well done. So we've had a little pop to the upside on this. We've had a little sell-off today so far. S&P again, same trade. Anyone that took that went up to 1 3/4. So we'll delete that. So then it popped back down as well. And then we have the US 30. Now the US 30 is back to a much better level than the other two. Okay, back to a much better level than the other two. So we're going to go through all three of them here first. So now if we go back here to the Nasdaq, so is there a daily trade? Is there any, can we jump in on that as a daily trade right here? So stop loss here, entry there. Now, first things foremost, no, because this bar is not finished. We can't jump in on that because the day is not finished, the bar is not finished. This could continue going down, it could trigger us in and then trigger us out. So the daily trade is a no. So there's nothing there on the daily trade. So we have to try and find a level or a floor for this to turn. So we drop down to the 4 hour. Drop down to the 4 hour. I'll pop that down there. So is that valid off that trend line, or has it broken that trend line? So it's broken that trend line, hasn't it? So it's not, that's not valid. Now you could say to me, Henry, there's one there. Hit the floor here, hit the ceiling, hit the floor, hit the floor. So that is valid there. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 touches. So the trend line doesn't work, so we delete that. But there is a horizontal here. Now, is that a soft or a hard level? And yes, Stuart, there is a ring low here. So now we have an entry on the likes of that there. So is that trade valid right there? So yes. Yes, 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 it is. The only question we have here is that floor strong enough? Is that floor strong enough to hold? So everyone thinks that the trade is valid. Is that floor strong enough? Yes or no? Okay, so we have we're about 60-40 in the no. We're about 60-40 in the no column at the moment. Okay, that's fine. But that's how we figure out whether this is a good trade or not. Okay, we've seen this big sell-off. We've now looked at it, going, there's loads of room to the upside. Okay, so that's something that we've now gone on. Now, before we take this, we'll go and look at the other ones. Go and look at the other ones. So let's have a look at the S&P 500. So back up to the daily chart, have a quick look. So the day chart there, today we've had a pullback. Can I take that as a daily trade? Entry there, stop loss there. known because this day is still running, it's not finished. Also, I've no levels here, I've no anything here to give me an area whether this is a good trade or not. I've nothing to tell us that that's the floor. So I'm getting rid of it. And now drop down to the 4 hour and let's have a look at the structure. I get my trend line. And again, my trend line is broken. So I don't have anything here to tell me whether this is a good trade or not. So I'll delete that again. I might zoom out a little bit and have a quick look, see if there's anything else out here. And there's nothing else out here. Okay, zoom back in again. And the only thing I have is potentially across there. And again, it hasn't touched here. You might say to me, Henry, it has touched that triple bottom up above here. Is that valid? Is that valid? Is that level valid? Is it yes or no? And then if that level is valid, then is that trade valid? Is that a good trade then? So entry, stop loss to the upside. So is this a strong level? No, it's not. Again, it's a small level. It's a weak level. It's not something that is massively jumping out at us. It's a quite a weak level. But out of the two of them, which one would you say is better? The Nasdaq or the S&P? Which of the two do you think is a much better level? Looking at the two of them, the Nasdaq or the S&P? Okay, so everyone seems to agree that the Nasdaq is better. So that means then we've now discarded the S&P. Okay, fine. Now let's have a look at the Dow. Before we jump in the Nasdaq, let's have a look at the Dow. We'll jump on it on the daily chart. So now we see that we have a horizontal here. It's hit its head. So we've come back. It's hit its head here. We've come back. It's hit the floor and rejected there. And it's now hit the floor again. Now, again, this bar is not finished. This one is not finished. So can we take that trade there on the daily chart? Not really. Why? Because we can't, that's not the floor. Okay. We have it as long as it's below that one, it's not too bad. As long as it's below that one, it's not too bad. Okay. So we then drop down to the smaller time frame. We drop down to the 4 hour. Now the entry on the 4 hour is actually the same size as the daily bar. Okay. So there's the previous trade that we took here on this particular one. So I'm going to delete that, which was a winner, went up to a 3.5 to 1. So I'm going to delete that trade. But if we look back now and zoom out a little bit, we can see here that it's hit its head once, come down, hit its head twice, come down. It's went up. Now the problem with the 4 hours, it doesn't exactly bounce at this level, but we're pretty decent. Again, pops back up and then comes back down into this area. So is that a valid level, this one here? Is that horizontal level valid? Yes or no? So break and retest, yes. So then if that's the scenario and we're expecting the market to go up, is this a valid trade then? And if I get a horizontal level, I pop it there. Well, I actually popped that a fraction lower. There. Now, why have I popped this level there? So why have I popped that level there? Why don't I pop the level at the very top of the wick? Can anyone tell me why I popped it there instead of? No, the top of the wick is an all-time high. It might not make it all the way to the top high. No, it's a resistance point, but I want, because remember, not everyone will understand why it's a resistance point. But why not put it there? Well done, Eduardo, because that is a double top. Okay, it's had two touches. I've had two touches, so it's hit us twice. So if it's hit it twice, there's probably there's a better chance of it hitting it again. Also, second thing is look at the open and the close here. It's also below the top of the open and the close. The wick, it can be just an anomaly, whereas I like to have my take profit just inside there. So if we were taking this, we would expect to at least hit the 2-to-1 here. So there's my stop loss price, there's my entry price, and there's my 2-to-1. So if you're expecting this to go up, this is a valid trade here. You would take it on the 4-hour. So it's a 4-hour trade off that horizontal level if you're expecting to go up. So we have had this one, which is the Dow, and we also have the Nasdaq. So out of the two, which one do you think looks better, the Nasdaq or the Dow? Okay, so far, everyone bar one person has picked the Dow. Absolutely, I agree with you, Eduardo, and it literally comes down to a stronger support level on the Dow. That's literally it. A stronger support level on the Dow. Okay, so for me, the Dow is a stronger trade. Now, there's nothing stopping you. Now I risk 1% per trade. There's nothing stopping you taking both trades and just putting a 0.5% on both trades. And then if the Dow stops you out, perfect. Then the Nasdaq doesn't. At least then you're gonna make a little bit of money on it. If the both stop you out, you lose 1%. If the two of them go on, one will run higher than the other one, and you'd expect the Nasdaq to run higher. Thanks, James. Anyone who's not here or not in the chat group or the Discord chat group, go from there. So if we see trades on the Nasdaq and the Dow, then maybe ARK will work also. Now, the problem with the likes of ARK is ARK has got into a lot of new technologies, a lot of startups. So not trending stuff that they are hoping that when they turn around, it has 3, 4, 500% upside. Whereas the Nasdaq, the S&P, and the Dow are heavily weighted on big, huge tech, big, huge companies that are trending nicely. So that's the problem with the likes of ARK as well. They've got into new initiative projects that have loads of upside. So not necessarily, if that makes sense. Okay. So there is a potential trade there. Will I be taking the Dow? Absolutely. I'll be taking the Dow. So that is how I trade, and that's something that I'm sort of looking at. So rather than going through any other stuff that I have, I've nothing else planned for you guys. So I wanted to go through the likes of this, but I wanted to have a quick run through of the stock list that I did, and just to show you the type of watch list that I did. So here's the 20. This is the stock list I have now. I literally, how I set up my stock list. All I did is I went here to the stock screener, the filter, and I put on everything. I put on everything. So everything's here. So everything was here. Now, all I do is I scroll to the very bottom. I scroll to the very bottom down here. Now, if you look, there's 5,291 stocks. Okay, so there's loads and loads of stuff there. And I just pulled one up. Is this trending? Yes or no? If it's trending. So would you guys say that is trending? Yes or no? Would you be happy to put that on your stock list? Someone said wrong screen. So you guys can actually see my trading view with ISRG on it. Okay, cool. So absolutely yes. And all I did is I right click on this and then add to watch list. So that's added to my watch list here. Okay, that's how easy it is to do a watch list. Now, what I noticed on the likes of this, as I'm going through the stock list, see that we have strong buy, strong sell, buy, strong sell, strong sell. I noticed a little theme here. Look at the strong sells. A lot of the strong sells are heading down. Okay, a lot of the strong sells were heading down. So what I did is I actually just done an extra filter on this. Take that off. So I did an extra filter on this. So what I did is I pulled all the strong buys up the top. Literally by clicking on this, I pulled all the strong buys. Now this is moving average weighted. So I just very, very quickly jumped out of that. Yeah, now when you go to show someone, it goes tits up, doesn't it? Okay, so this one I've never seen before. Would you say this is something that we would put on the list? Absolutely. Add to watch list. Okay, that one's a no. It's a no. Would we stick this one on the watch list? Absolutely. Would this one go on the watch list? This one's a little more contentious. NV. Absolutely, I would expect to put this one on the list as well. Add to watch list. But that's how easy it was to pick out. Do I ever venture into British stocks? Now, Thomas, the thing with British stocks is that it's a little more difficult than the likes of this. You have to go and how did you go to stock screener, please? So down in the very bottom left-hand corner, We see stock screener. Literally clicked on it. And that's popped up here. Now, if you want to refine your search and you want to say go by a particular sector, okay, click on sector here and pull up a particular sector if you want, which will refine that even more. Okay. And you'll just learn and tweak things as you're going along. Okay, just something I found is that the strong buys just worked out a little bit better that they were trending. Is this one? No. This one? I can understand why it's a strong buy. Wouldn't go on my list. Nope. We could stick that on, even though it's gone pretty flat since June. Okay, will this go on? Absolutely. General Motors. Also Nation. We talked about in the chat group. I know some people took that yesterday. Like to this, yes. Nope. Yes. But this is how simple it is to do a watch list. Once the tools are there in front of you. So we'll just go through some of these. Now, I haven't gone through many of them. So this is a trade that we talked about. I can't remember when we talked about it. So we talked about these two levels. Anyone that took that trade is now up nearly 0.4%. You risk 1% there. I think it was the boot camp we talked about it. Okay, we've done analysis here on a few of these. And very quickly, by putting a little bit of analysis on these, we can sort of anticipate what's going to happen. Now, this one broke that level. So it's not something that we're looking at anymore. And by putting in a little trend line, so on and so forth, this one, we could have taken that trade there. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Would it have been something that I would have taken? Probably not, because the cycles are just too small here. But if you'd taken that, look, you're handsomely up now. You are at least probably 2% up if you'd taken that trade. CVX, no trade on it. This one, trending nicely. We've had a pretty decent pullback, but can we trust it? We'll see. Okay, so some of these trending stocks are overvalued. How do you understand when it stops? But the likes of these, I'm not looking to trade these as an underlying asset. I'm not looking to trade any of these as an underlying asset. I'm looking for entry points for CFD trades. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for entry points for CFD trades. Carry on and get your normal stocks. Carry on and get your normal stocks the normal way that you're doing. But once it comes back to this level here, how confident am I that that's going to go up? The only thing I have to check is that the earnings were good or bad at that particular point. And there's no earnings on it. That's all I have to check. And with TradingViewer, it tells you here as well. Okay, just little things like that. It's now again, if you get into the likes of this as an underlying asset, when it comes back to here. So if you get into the likes of this as an underlying asset and you buy it here, what's the probability of you going to make money on it, even if you buy it as an underlying asset right here? So just say it comes back to that level. Remember, that's a 12% drop. So even by buying that there, for it to get back to this previous high, you've made 12%, even as an underlying asset. And that's the beautiful thing, Ivan. Even if you buy them as underlying assets, So to give the example, to give the probably the most recent example is Nike. That's probably the most recent example here. So I bought Nike right here. Don't know whether any of you else bought it there, but I bought Nike right there. It had a pretty big drop. It's off this trend line. And I bought it there as an underlying asset. Now, is Nike overvalued at that particular point? Probably. Probably. Absolutely. It's going up since however long. Okay. However long this is going up. Anyone had bought it down there, look where you would be now if you had sat through this pandemic drop. Okay, but again, it's trending quite nicely. It's trending. It has gone up. It's taken off. But we could have had that same argument here. Look, we could have had that same argument here, but Henry, it's overextended. It's overvalued. Absolutely. But look where it is now. Again, the same scenario. But what we have to do is we have to trade what we see. So bounce there, bounce there, bounce there. Now, the difference is that we can trade them as an underlying asset or a CFD. Now, I also took this trade. I don't know however many took it. I also took it here. Only I took it there as a CFD. I bought this was an underlying asset because there's a big drop. I couldn't guarantee that was area is going to change, but I bought it here as a CFD. So I'll just go back here and we'll have a look. We'll have a look at the portfolio and we can have a look at Nike. And if we have a look here down at Nike. So as a CFD, I'm up 79 quid on it. And I bought it 15th of the 11th. So bought it, what was that? 8 days ago. Whereas I bought the underlying asset here. Come on, Naga. I bought the underlying asset. Okay, my trades. So bought the bought the underlying asset here. Bought the underlying asset here with Nike. Okay, and I'm up 19 quid. So I invested 109. I'm up 19 quid. But I bought it on the 1st of the 10th. So that's nearly 2 months ago. And the underlying asset is up 17%. Whereas I bought the CFD, and look, I'm almost 1-to-1 off. Risked 100 quid again. Same thing, risked 100 quid. I'm up 79 quid on it. And that's the difference between trading a CFD and an underlying asset. Whereas the underlying asset we buy when we have undervalue of a particular asset, and an asset where we are not sure where to get in. But if we buy it here in the upside, then we're making money on the initial the underlying asset, but then we make money here jumping in trading it and the CFD. So unfortunately, we never know when a stock is overvalued. It's when it starts making lower lows. When it breaks the likes of these, this is where we close our trades and then we potentially start all over again. Could you have a look at Alibaba? Oh, well. I hope that answered your question. So BABA is something I have, and we're back down at this sort of level. So we're back down at this sort of level. It had pretty bad earnings that come out. So this is why we gapped to the downside. So we click on the earnings here. We can see earnings were down 6%. Maybe scale in on BABA. Okay, now I'm only down maybe 5 or 10% on BABA because I only have the one position on it. But again, we're back at an area where this is where a level, this is a pretty decent. So this is a pretty decent area. Now, the problem with the likes of this stock is that it has been hit by the CEO going missing. It's dropped because of the IPO for their payment system that was blocked by the government. It's also the sanctions where anyone who was listed in the New York Stock Exchange or the US exchanges, it's been had sanctions on as well. So there's an awful lot of government interference with the likes of this and regulatory interference. But once all this gets sorted, there's huge upside for BABA. Is their supply network hasn't really changed. The demand for their website hasn't really changed. The only thing that has changed is the actual value of the stock because of what's going on with the likes of the government. So do I think this is an undervalued stock at the moment? Yes. But this may be a little bit of a long-term play rather than something that we're talking about week in, week out. And again, this could quite easily drop down to $110. It could drop back down to here. Why, if these sanctions continue to grow? But is this theoretically undervalued? Yes. So is it something that we want to happen? No, we would like that now to turn. Could we dollar cost average in? I would say yes, as it's coming down from this sort of point, yes. Because it will get to a point that everything will get sorted, normal service will resume. Now, if earnings come out, so just say the next earnings come out and their next earnings is up 9 or 10% unexpected, what do you think will happen to this stock? Okay, so if we look at the expectation of the last earnings was 1.84, estimated 1.84 per earning per share. It has now jumped to 2.71. So why do you think there's such a big jump between December here, or this one here, Q2 and the Q3? Absolutely, Christmas. What else happens around this time? Black Friday. You have the January sales. So this is the same thing. We're expecting earnings to jump. Okay. And if they have a better quarter here, so in the next quarter, they jump above earnings. So just say the earnings comes in at £3 per share. What do you think would happen to the stock price here? To the moon. But again, all I think is we have one good in around these areas. We have one, maybe two good quarters on this, and I expect this to jump quite substantially. And the same with most of these Chinese stocks that have had the sanctions and stuff on them. But again, we have to just sit and wait. It's like, remember, oil was dropping in the pandemic. Oil was dropping and went down to minus $37 a barrel. We just have to sit through it. And once we sit through it and come out the other end, you'll be absolutely laughing. You have a portfolio then that does 40 to 50 to 100% a year because you bought some of these undervalued stocks. Now, not all of them will play out. And just to show you here, not all of my stock plays, not all of my plays play out. I go to portfolio. If we go down here, look at this. Jumaya down 50%. Dodge down 44%. Zoom down 39%. Baba is down 30%. Beyond Meat 30%. 88 30%. Palantir 25%. 24%. 21%. ARC 17%. Dayu 10%. Bidu 10%. Dayu. Matic. eToro. Neo. Twitter. And then, but the difference is the good far way outs positive. The good far outweighs the positive or the negative. Does that make sense? And that's the difference. That is the difference. So at some particular point, we either start dollar cost averaging into these or we pull the plug on them. And with Jumaya, because it's similar to Alibaba, similar to Amazon, eBay, stuff like that there, I will wait to the end of the next quarter and then we will assess. Zoom, I think Zoom long-term will make higher highs. I think this work from home will continue to do. Zoom will continue to make money. Whether how long it'll take, I don't know. Beyond Meat is something that I've invested over and over again. I believe in this long term as well. But the rest of them are all sort of short-term plays. Now, when I say short-term plays, over the next 4 or 5 years. But the likes of Zoom, the likes of Beyond Meat, I think those long-term will continue to do well. But I may be wrong, which means I will cut my ties. So not everything here is all hunky-dory. I do have bad trades as well. But the idea is if we buy stuff that's trending, has clear cyclicity, is working well, it's very easy to see why they're running. Okay, it's very easy to see why they're running. If we look at the top 4 or 5 here that I have in my portfolio, Oxy is probably the only one that is different. Okay, so if we look at the likes of Nvidia chart, look at the trend. Even before that, we got in Nvidia when it was trending up along here. Look, it went stagnant for a little bit and then just took off again. So Nvidia is something that we've been talking about from there. If we look at Glencore, look at Glencore. Glencore was one of the ones I got in somewhere around here. Look at the trend. It's trending really, really nicely. Apple. No one should need to have a look at Apple. Apple's at a record high. Look at Oxy. I'm a little bit sorry I closed my Oxy trades. So I got an Oxy down here. Literally down there. As it was dropping here, I got in somewhere on the bottom and it's now up here. So that's the only one that was on the way down. So this is similar to what happened to the likes of Alibaba, the likes of Bidu, the likes of DocuSign. Look, we sat down through a lot of this. We even broke this level. We're down 20 or 30%. Now we're up 200 or 300% on it. And is there still room for these to grow? Absolutely. So 152% up. I closed one of my positions at probably about 50% up and another one at 88% up. Would you part close Nvidia? If you believe Nvidia is going to drop, if you believe that Nvidia is not going to turn around, if you believe Nvidia is not going to continue, the same scenario could be said about Microsoft. Same could be said about Apple. Look, Glencore. You just have to take a position. You just have to take profit on these positions once you feel confident that that's going to happen. If we look at pins, that has done the exact opposite. So pins was my second best performing stock at one stage. It's now up here, look. It's now made a lower low. So now, do we close the plug on pins, or do we take a new position here and expect it to continue to grow? So sat through all that. That is a pretty big drop, isn't it? %53% it's dropped. How do we work out where the top is? By getting lucky. How do we work out where the bottom is? By also getting lucky. But if we look at the likes of Microsoft's probably the best one, is trying to get these little bits in the middle. That's all we're looking for, is these meaty bits in the middle. And then you'll get a few of these that will just continue to grow. So someone asked me, Henry, how do you know when the stock is overvalued? The problem is you never know. You hope and you get into a stock and then hopefully let it run. And then it goes from strength to strength. The likes of this one. The likes of this one. For me, the trend on this is probably too strong. Would I be looking at this long term? No, the trend is probably too strong. I expect it to probably drop again. Same with the likes of this one. It's probably a bit too strong for me, but I can jump in and trade these. I can jump in and trade all these. Same with this one, is probably too overextended. So what are we buying in as an underlying asset? This one is much better. It's had a nice pullback. This one again is much better. Okay, but the likes of all these, we can trade these. We can make money trading them rather than investing in them. And all we do is wait for them to come back into nice areas. And if they come back into nice areas, then we literally buy them. And because we have such momentum to the upside, the probability of it making money for us is quite high. People tend to overcomplicate trading. It's not that hard. It is not that hard. Comes back to there. What do you do if it comes back to there? And that's not rocket science. You may have a loss there. If it comes back then to this one, comes back to there, then you buy it again. And the probability is that it will go up. It's not trading. Trading is not hard by any stretch of the imagination, but people just try to overcomplicate it. Look, everyone, it's been an absolute pleasure. Anyone who's been watching this on YouTube or even in this channel who are not part of my trading group, jump in and have a look at my trading course. Jump in on the free trading course. Anyone who wants this watch list, okay, anyone who wants this watch list, copy link, okay, jump onto my Discord. If you jump onto the Discord here, you will see in the announcements, it is here in the announcements. Okay, I'm going to drop it in here. Anyone who wants it, it's literally there in the announcements. So that's it there, Henry's watch list. It's there for anyone who wants it. If you jump into my free Discord channel, it's there as well for you. Okay, everyone, thank you very much. Hope you have a lovely evening. Anyone who's YouTube, click on subscribe. So it'll be on the YouTube channel. So the YouTube channel, so Henry Ward Trading or Henry Ward Market Watch on YouTube. Click on that and press subscribe on the YouTube channel. And it means anytime I post a video, you will see it. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.